mean, I could see it, but it kind of goes back to the statement we talked about earlier on in this podcast, right? We were talking about like business is not personal, but personal is what drives business. So
right?
from an executive level, if they're going to essentially hire all their friends, then you're going to have essentially nothing more than good old boy networks collectively versus like you're saying, the diversity and inclusion. So it becomes like a push and pull, right? Like, how do we get to that
Yes.
leverage point? How do we like, I'm asking you, like, how do we leverage that out?
So I worked with Carol Meyerowitz, who was the CEO of TJX, the TJX companies, TJ Maxx, Marshall's Home Goods. When I was there in investor relations, she made a point to include those with different backgrounds, races, religions, colors, sexual orientations, disabilities, et cetera, to all be at the executive table in all of the different brands. Because if you don't have the minds of those with different backgrounds that represent your customers around the executive table, then you are not able to make effective decisions that will benefit your customer and keep them loyal. Um, the whole I'm going to hire my friends, I'm going to hire those who look like me, that's got to stop because you're not being fair to your customer base. If you have a product you're putting out to the world and
Mhm.
you want it to attract, like I think mid to late career women, but I want not just white mid to late career women, I want all mid to late career women because all of us have been impacted by the same crap. And whether your self confidence is at a 0 compared to my 3,
Mhm.
or vice versa, yours is at a 3 compared to my 0, we all can use the same strategies, the same environment of no competition, no threat, no judgment. If we just start from there and teach our executives to turn on their parent brain at work. Like when you have a child as a human, and probably every other species known to, every other animal out there.
Mhm.
But when you have a child, you are 99% of parents are hoping that they can provide more for their child than they ever received. Either provide it or build the child so that they can attain more than you ever did. If that's the case, why aren't we acting the same way in business?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a solid answer to look at it from that standpoint, and it kind of goes back to like the statement of teaching someone how to fish versus giving them the fish, and then the third variable would be okay. I'm going to teach them how to fish, but I'm going to stock the lake with all the fish. It's like
Yeah.
that's the new third variable, right?
Yes.
It's kind of like I'm going to teach you how to fish, but the lake is full of fish. You could just go out there and figure it out. So, to your point, I mean, trying to figure out the equilibrium between those three and figuring out the balance and how do you raise your kid is essentially how you would raise your employee. Definitely,
Yes.
it's insightful. Definitely insightful. So I
And
mean,
and as so if we think about that as a boss,
mhm,
like, and this is what I want to bring the boss on cage.
mhm,
Think about that as a boss. Your employee, you want to make so successful that they exceed what you are able to do.
mhm.
That is the ultimate way to manage.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. And I get talking about my
Thanks.
platform. I mean, it's an education platform. So I mean, obviously, educating everyone that I get my hands on is exactly what I want to do all day, all night. So coming from that standpoint,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, I come from that brainiac standpoint. But to your
Yes.
point, brainiac ties into capital, but sometimes in other environments, capital comes before the intellectual side. So that's what you're saying. That's
Yes.
the gray areas. Like more people are focused more so on the capital, the raising the equity, the money, the investments versus how do I grow and teach everyone to then grow. And then the magnifying effect of that would eventually create the wealth. But to your
Yes.
point, the world is ass backwards. So